everyone. Today we're here with Sheream Reed, who's a D1 from the Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. We're going to learn a little bit about his journey to dental school and his experience as a D1 during COVID. Sheream, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. So can you please start off with giving us a brief description about where you're from originally, where you went to undergrad, like what your major was, and if you took a gap year or not?
Definitely. So, I told you, I'm a first year dental student here at Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. And I attended the University of Pittsburgh for my undergraduate studies before I have my first master's degree at Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. And then I went on to get my second master's degree at Meharry before getting into dental school. So I have a long journey. It took me a lot to get here. So as a non-traditional dental student, it's been a little, my journey has been uncharted, especially as a first generation college student. Kind of don't know exactly, how to get to where you need to go, but it's a lot of bumps in the road, but you learn from your mistakes. And pretty much in 2004, I'm pretty old. Back in 2004, I graduated high school and I enrolled at the University of Pittsburgh. I was on a pre-med, pre-dent track, and I majored in natural sciences, which is pretty much like biology. And I was performing, pretty well academically. In my junior year, I had a death in the family, and I was a witness to a school shooting. And that kind of took a toll on me. I ended up leaving school for almost 5 years. I worked as a pharmacy technician at a level 1 trauma hospital, gained a lot of experience there, and finally got back to Pittsburgh in 2014, graduated in December of 2015, found a job at Merck Pharmaceutical Company as a vaccine manufacturer, also worked as a cadaver tech.
Wow.
And then I was all over the place, yeah. And I was doing this while trying to get my academics back on track, because I did a little bit of damage to that when I went through, some of those personal issues back in Pittsburgh. So I enrolled into the master's program as an academic enhancer and to help prepare me for dental school. And then eventually, there's a bunch of gap years in there. Eventually, I started to perform well on the DAT after taking it several times, and finally found a good combination of just things to do so I could be successful. And finally got in 2019, last year. Well, it's 2021, but 2020.
So you mentioned you were on the pre-dental, pre-med track since like you entered your undergraduate.
Correct.
So
Correct.
You knew you wanted to be a dentist for a long time?
Yes, for a pretty long time. I mean, I was dabbling with, just traditional medicine and other things, just to, to seek other things out to see if I really wanted to do it. But since I was a kid, I always had this infatuation with teeth, like Jaws, the movie Jaws. My grandmother, she purchased me a subscription of a magazine called Zoo Books. And pretty much they have like an animal on the front. They tell the facts of the animal. And it was something about teeth that just infatuated me. And luckily my mother is a dental assistant at a level 1 trauma hospital. So she rubbed off on me a lot. She taught me, great oral hygiene, and she rubbed on me. She said, you need to, go into dentistry. And I was like, I'll definitely give it some consideration. So I started shadowing people when I was in high school, then got to college, and it led me down this path. And I've been chasing it ever since.
I love it. That's a really cool story. So you talked about you took the DAT multiple times. So
Correct.
What did you learn through that process, and like what tips do you have for pre-dents who are either taking it for the first time or they're taking it again?
So firstly, I would say, and this is the most important tip, I would say, is to be resilient. And sometimes things are not going to come natural. So don't get too down on yourself. Be disappointed, but use that as fuel to get better, and then come back the next time and you have to build on that. So don't just give up. No, not everybody's a natural. It took me several times, and I had to find the right combination of techniques to get there. So some more advice: you need to plan well in advance. This is not just a test that you can just go in and take. Your some of your undergraduate courses won't adequately prepare you for that. Of course, you take organic chemistry, that should do its part. Biology, if you take all the prerequisites for dental and medical school, it should prepare you. But you have reading comprehension, you have the PAT, which is just so strange in the things that they make you do,
Yeah.
keyholes and such.
So frustrating too. I'm
Yeah,
practicing for it right now, and I'm like, there's no way I can do this 90 minutes of this. It's
90-minute, no, what is it,
or,
60 minutes, 90 questions.
oh, that, yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
that's even harder. Yeah. Yeah.
60 minutes, 90 questions. And some of that stuff is hard. But anyway, yeah, just make sure that you do research on good resources. Like I recommend iPrep. iPrep Dental is a very good, and they should pay me for this, but iPrep was really good as far as their techniques, and they just taught things that other programs did not. Like I took a Kaplan and a Princeton review, and although they are well and they do their job, I feel like iPrep was my favorite personally. And then at one point I used DAT Bootcamp, which was great, but I couldn't get through all of it.
Okay.
Also had Destroyer, couldn't get through all of it. But if you have the time, try not to, like if you can afford not to work and just dedicate 3-4 months to just grinding it out 9 to 5 as if it's your job and maybe your life depends on it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those are some tips. And I would say for the PAT, you should use PAT Booster, because DAT Bootcamp, unless they just updated it, it doesn't adequately, I feel like it didn't adequately prepare me for the PAT, although the other sections were good. So I used PAT Booster to help supplement, and their practices were a lot more challenging. It was more like the actual exam.
Okay.
And, yeah, I guess that's it for now.
Yeah.
I want to keep rambling on.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So, I mean, obviously your DAT was good enough that you got into the dental school. So what was the interview process like at Meharry?
Interview process. Yeah, I was going to say I interviewed at a few schools, and at Meharry, it was very laid back. They didn't really ask me too many questions about that you would expect, I would say. It was more like trying to get to know who you are, um, and your background. So it was real laid back. At other schools, I'm not going to put those schools out there, but at a other school, it was very, like, no pun intended, it was like a bad cop, good cop, bad cop situation,
Oh, okay.
where I think they were trying to make me feel uncomfortable with some of the questions they were asking me, I guess, to see how I would react.
Mhm.
So just be prepared for anything. Of course, be yourself. Try not to sound as robotic when you practice for your interviews. You want to type things out very detailed, but at the end of the day, you should have bullet points as if you're selling yourself, but don't read the script exactly verbatim. You have to kind of like be natural with it.
So would you say that your interview at Meharry was like probably the most relaxed one you had?
Yes, it was a little bit more relaxing. I only had 2 interviews, and that was the most relaxing one. Yes,
Okay. Yeah,
it
because
was
that's
really
what
good.
that's kind of what I've learned through this process of like interviewing different people. They usually say the school that they're attending was the easiest interview they had, the most relaxed and
Mm,
the most comfortable there. So I'm starting to see
interesting.
a little trend here. Yeah. So, okay. Did you show any interest in Meharry beforehand? Did you attend any pre-dental events or reach out to like dental students or professors?
Yeah, so I showed a lot of interest ever since I got to college. At the University of Pittsburgh, I'm trying to think of the name of the organization, but it was like, I think they call it POMS, it's Pre-Medical Organization for Minority Students.
Mhm.
And they introduce you to different, avenues in medicine. So I was a part of that. But then I had to take the gap year, came back, and once I was doing those gap years, I was a member of ASDA, a student member, which is Joint ASDA, American Student Dental Association. They have national conferences, local conferences. It can connect you to, different people and key players in admissions to get you into dental school. They also have, different events to teach you how to get into dental school and what tips you to allow you to excel academically. Also, SNDA, which is Student National Dental Association. That's a real big one. I attended the one in Washington, D.C., and it was so fun. Like, you get to meet different people, admissions, committees and coordinators, and you get to meet, as a person of color, we're a minority in medicine, and, most dental schools, besides the two HBCU dental schools, is lacking, diversity. So it was good to see other people of color, I would say, from other schools, and just talk with them and connect with them as well.
Yeah.
But so get very involved even beforehand, because it shows initiative and
Yeah.
it shows that you're hungry. So definitely get involved.
So here's something that I was wondering. So since you're a part of ASDA,
Mhm.
do dental schools like check with their ASDA chapters to see if like applicants have been attending their events? Is that a thing?
Um,
Like
I'm
how would the
sure.
dental schools know like you showed interest by like attending?
Okay, I would just put it on your CV, of course,
Okay.
and make sure that you don't just join the club, but if you can have some type of, leadership role, like for pre-dents, I believe ASDA has some pre-dental uh, leadership positions nationally that you can apply for. So do things like that where it's not just putting it on the resume, but you need to have something that you said you claimed yourself and you were able to construct something out of it.
Yeah.
So I would say about that.
Okay, for sure. So, in addition to like the interview being really relaxed there, like what are some
Mm,
other reasons that made you choose Meharry, and like
mm.
why is Meharry unique compared to the other dental schools?
So I would say for me, so first of all, Meharry Medical College it has a great history. It's the first dental school for African Americans in the South. So it's a HBCU. It's a historically Black college, and it's the second dental school. Howard was number one,
Mhm.
but Meharry is number two. So there's a long history of just civil rights and medical pioneers that come through the school. So for me, it was a very distinguished. It was just honor to walk in their footsteps.
Mhm.
But going on to a second point, just the political climate and me attending school at a PWI previously for undergrad, I felt like it was time for a change and to see, I just wanted a change of pace, and I feel comfortable in my own skin here. There are some adjustments when you are a person of color and you are at a predominantly white institution, and some people are cool with it, and some people want to have like a different type of experience. And for me, that's why I think it's pretty unique. They do a lot of community service. Meharry is very big on community service. Some some dental schools, they're real big on research and this, that, and the third. I just love the fact that Meharry is real big on helping the community and helping people. So it's people first, and their mission is worship of God through service to mankind. So it's like a Christian, uh, you know, school,
Yeah.
and they value service through worship of God. So
Okay. I didn't know that. So there's a religious like theme to Meharry as well.
exactly,
Okay.
yes, it's a Methodist uh, affiliation.
And
The
so do you guys have like community dental clinics as well, where like dental students can go and provide uh, like dental care to the underserved communities?
Yes, so they have trying to think of the name, but they have a dental like clinic on wheels. It's like a bus, and they just drive around underserved areas around Nashville and outside of Nashville, and they do free dental care on many of these uh, populations. And also in addition to that, every year they have oral health day, where one day out of the year they provide free, basic procedures to, local residents. So they could come in and have like a filling, nothing too crazy. If they need like oral surgery or something like that, then they have to get referred. But a lot of the student dentists will help with that. And we have a big budget for it. And it's a pretty big day for Meharry.
I love that. I can really appreciate that. So how has your, I mean, so you're a pre-dent for a really long time. So
Yes.
what was that tradition, what was that transition like from being a pre-dent to finally like being in your first year of dental school, and like, especially during the pandemic? What's that like?
Yeah, the transition wasn't too bad for me, for instance, because I was already here. I did their master's program, so I was already settled in Nashville.
Mhm.
However, I believe the pandemic it took a toll in some ways, and I would say it was good that you could just roll out of bed and throw a top on. Like right now, I don't have scrub pants on. I did this.
Yeah.
These are our scrubs, but
Yeah, I feel
I
you.
got jean shorts on right here. And that's, you could just roll out of bed and do that. So there's different advantages. Disadvantage is that for me, I love classroom setting. It helps me stay focused. I
Mm.
sit in the front of the class. It helps prevent distractions. But my couch to the next to me is very enticing to just sit on the couch while you're lecturing and then doze off.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, they don't force you for most classes to be on camera or even participation. So it's just very difficult to stay engaged. Um, so
Okay.
I would just say that for now.
And what's your like average day like right now? Are you guys virtual, or just like completely virtual, or like hybrid? What's it
We
like?
are a hybrid. So
Okay.
when the pandemic first broke out, of course, our first year, well, this is still my first year, but fall semester,
Mhm.
they traditionally for anatomy lab, they have an actual lab where people would come in, they would dissect the cadavers.
Mhm.
However, they made it a virtual lab. So we're just looking at videos of dissections. And I was really looking forward to that because I was a
Okay.
cadaver tech. I like that type of stuff. And I want to go into oral surgery.
Okay.
But other than that, we had dental anatomy lab, which was we would come in person, but the all the other didactic courses were strictly online to limit the amount of contact. We also we get tested every week. And of course, if somebody turns up positive, then they have to quarantine for 2 weeks and then get retested.
Mhm.
So the school has different things in place to help mitigate, the COVID. And I would say about right now, 60% they said of Meharry community is vaccinated, and they're
Awesome.
trying to work their way up to kind of like herd immunity within our community
Yeah.
so that we can hopefully go back to school in the fall. But
No
that
plans
is
yet.
yet to be announced. Yeah, we don't know yet.
So, do you get to go in for like sim lab? I don't know how the curriculum is structured at Meharry.
Okay,
So,
got you.
what
Yeah, so
you
for
mentioned how?
dental anatomy lab, we did what did we do? We did like impressions, we did wax ups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That's where we would come in maybe once or twice a week for a few hours, and they limit the amount of people in the lab. So they broke the class up, divided into two. Meharry is only 60 students, so they
Okay.
just broke it 30 and 30.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's pretty much it. So these labs, the upperclassmen, they have a lot of labs where they do have to come in. For D1s, you don't have too many, so most of your classes will be online. D2, there's so much lab work, and sometimes they try to get you to do it at home,
Mhm.
but you have to have certain equipment at home, and for certain things, it's not possible, so you have to come in.
But that's cool though. So you guys have only 60 students. So like, is there like a good faculty to student ratio?
Yes, so it's very low, I would say,
Okay.
per se. I know in other schools like NYU or I'm trying to think of some other schools, they have like 200
Oh,
students.
oh,
It's
yeah,
so crazy. Like,
yeah.
and I like the smaller class settings. It's more intimate. get to know your professors more. It's a little bit less competition. I don't necessarily like the competition feel because people undercut their classmates,
Yeah.
and instead of trying to help bring them up with them. So
Yeah. So there's
yeah.
not as much of a collaborative in atmosphere, like environment at Meharry.
It's can you rephrase that question? Or
Sorry, like so
mm.
because you said it was a kind of a competitive field. So do students still like form like study groups and help each
Oh
other
yeah,
out?
yeah.
Or is it
Here it's pretty collaborative. I would say
okay?
at other schools with larger class sizes, it might
Gotcha,
get
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
even more competitive
Okay.
because some of the people that's trying to specialize have to be within the top 10, 15, 20% of the class.
Okay.
People are less likely, I guess, want to help other people. But here, people are very, even though people have their own study groups and people that they hang around,
Mm-hmm.
it is very, family oriented. People help other people,
Okay.
other students. And yeah, we want everybody to succeed.
Okay. That's really good. So, do you feel like you were able to get to know your classmates pretty well during this year, or were you a little hindered because of, the pandemic?
I believe that I got to learn, meet my class, most of them, and get to know who they are and get to know each other. However, I think it hinders some people, especially because I was here during my master's program and already was established. But for the people who were just coming in and they didn't know the area, I think it hindered them a lot because we we were having sometimes we have like virtual happy hours and stuff like that, but it's not the same feeling
No.
as being in person. Um, and I feel like it's going to change once we are in person.
Mhm.
But yeah, it definitely hindered everything.
Okay. So the gist that I'm getting from you is like for you at least, the year wasn't, as difficult as it was for others. So when you compare your D1 year to like students who like maybe D2s, D3s right now who were able to go through it mainly like in person,
Hmm.
how does it compare? Do you think it was still like same level of difficulty and same expectations out of you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I said, in different ways, it was more difficult, but in some ways, it was actually less stressful. I could say. I believe that I would have been more stressed, and I would have maintained probably around the same grades academically, but it would have been a lot more stressful to be in person. The curriculum is set up that we are in class from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, pretty much. Then you got to study on top of that. So I believe it was slightly easier. And now that we're going back in person, it's going to be quite an adjustment.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So, Shereem, you mentioned that you had a few more tips for like our viewers. Would you like to share them now?
Well, I would just say be resilient, of course. I always say that you're going to have so many obstacles and bumps in the road, and you have to learn from that. And if you're really passionate about what you want to do in the future, then you're not going to give up on it. When we're in college, we see so many people change majors and this, that, and the third. And that's cool. Change majors if it's not a passion for you. But if it's a passion, even if you don't do well in a class, retake it and do better. Learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen again. So be resilient. I would say make sure you plan ahead of time. And I'm trying to think some other things. I would say seek out, it's very expensive. The dental school application process is very expensive. So if you come from like a low income family, they have the fee waiver. A DSE has a fee waiver. You can apply for that. Also, it could cost you about 1,500 just to apply to one school for the most part. Like in addition to, you have to fly out for these interviews. You have to get a hotel. You have to maybe rent a car for transportation. It gets pretty expensive. So make sure you save up ahead of time. It's very critical. Um, you apply to like 5 or 6 schools, it could cost 7, 8,000. So
Those are
very
some
expensive.
fantastic words of wisdom. Like I totally agree with everything. Like I'm not a dental student, but like they all sound like really good.
I hope you've been saving up.
Yeah. So if our viewers have, any additional questions for you, is it cool if they reach out to you, like either through email or Instagram?
Oh, definitely. So you could reach me at on LinkedIn, Sheream James Reed. It's Sherea, M as in Mary, James James, Reed Reed. You can also find me on Instagram, the Mad Scientist, THA.MAD.scientist, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll include all that in the description as always.
Yeah.
Shreem, thank you so much for your time and for your advice. Like, I know our viewers are going to find this really helpful, and the fact that you took the time out of your day to do this means a lot to us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'd love to return if you ever need me again. Thank you so much.
We'll keep that in mind for sure.
All
So
right.
everyone at home, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when we upload new content, hit the notification bell. If you have any questions for us at FutureDDS, you can just DM us on Instagram at _FutureDDS, and we'll try to reply as soon as possible. And until next time, we'll see you all then.